We're about to find out how powerful progressives really are. In a time where Donald Trump has made a mockery of the political system, billions of dollars made by him and his family in corruption, people just want health care. They just want to make sure that there isn't, lead in their water. They want to make sure that their tax dollars are going to build bridges and roads in their town. I mean, is that too much to ask for? There's a reason why people like Abdul El Sayed are polling so highly in Michigan. He has about a 98% chance of winning right now. Again, we don't have the results of his election today. Next week is another primary, though, in Minnesota. And I'm so lucky to interview the lieutenant governor of Minnesota, who's running in the Senate race there. And her polling went from up 7 points to up 14 points. What we're realizing is money doesn't have to buy elections. What you stand for, what you can do for Americans, that's the message people are listening to. And I appreciate you guys listening to this chat I just had with Peggy Flanagan. Our guest today is running for the U.S. Senate in the state of Minnesota, endorsed by Bernie Sanders. She holds a commanding 14-point lead in the polls. I'm joined today by Minnesota's Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. How are you?
I'm doing fine, but I'm not running for office, and I'm not running. I don't have an election in 1 week. So tell me how you feel 1 week to go.
I mean, I feel good. We've done a lot of work, and I'm incredibly proud of our team and all of our volunteers. So far, we've knocked over 140,000 doors so far, and we'll have knocked 200,000 doors by Election Day, which I think is good. Our ground game is strong, and this campaign is about the many versus the money. I'm with the many, and I like our chances, but we're not taking anything for granted. We're working incredibly hard.
You know, in your neighboring state, or close by at least, you've got Abdul El Sayed. His primary is today. He's, David versus Goliath, going up against $60 million in funding. And like your race, he just continues to rise in the polls against all of that money. Normally, the person who spends the most wins. What's going on here? You've gone from 7 to 14 point lead. What's happening? What are you noticing?
I mean, I think that the thing that's happening right now across the country is just that people are ready for big, bold change. And that's, I think, the message that's being sent. Folks are done with the status quo. We hear a lot about governing by sternly worded letter, and that folks are like done with that. But I'd say that people have a real understanding about what big money has done to our politics. Corporate PACs, you know, AI tech billionaires putting their thumb on the scale in these races. I think people are sick of it. And Citizens United is an organization that has endorsed our campaign. I'm not taking a dime of corporate PAC money because I want to be beholden to Minnesotans and no one else. And I think now more than ever, when we see corruption happening in Washington, D.C., frankly, sometimes on both sides of the aisle, the folks are done with it. And that's, I think, the message that's resonating with people. It's certainly what I see happening in our neighboring state here in the Midwest. And, what people really care about. They're sick and tired of, politicians who are beholden to these big money groups, corporate PACs and APAC. I think they want elected officials who represent them and them alone, which frankly is how it should work.
Yeah, it's almost like the Republicans got elected on this Project 2025. Like, they had a blueprint, a framework for what they wanted to do. Of course, it was atrocious.
Mhm.
I'm a big Medicare for all guy because I don't see how we can fix any of our problems without having the health to even survive preventative illness and disease. Can you walk me through your stance and what you think can be accomplished if the right sort of chips are all put in place in the next couple of years?
Sure. So I will tell you, Dave, I didn't start out this campaign supporting Medicare for all. It was literally going to places all across Minnesota, and in particular in rural communities, hearing from people who have like $16,000 deductibles, and how that's just completely untenable for folks. We were in southwestern Minnesota, and I talked to a librarian, and she's married to a farmer, and they keep her hours like just under what she would need to qualify for healthcare. That happens all over the place. So her and her husband, they have to buy into the market. Their $16,000 deductible is an incredible obstacle, and they're like, we don't know what we're going to do. Are we just going to cover, the kids? Do we just pray that like we don't get sick? That is not a plan. And I think folks are ready to stop paying for health insurance and start paying for health care. That is what Medicare for All is all about, and covering vision and hearing and dental, those like core things that are really important to your overall health. And for a long time, I think folks are like, oh, it's so radical. And it's like, a $16,000 deductible, that is what is radical. My buddy who's an ER doc who said, I worry every time I treat someone that I'm going to kick them into bankruptcy, said that, he treated someone and it cost them over $30,000 for a nosebleed. Like, this is ridiculous. We can do so much better. And I think that there's candidates all across the country who are running for the US Senate, who are running for Congress, who support Medicare for all. And I'm an organizer. That is, how I've gotten things done over, the last 20 years and some change. And that's what it requires. And I think people are demanding it of us. So I'm excited for what's possible. I think we just got to get the right butts in the seats, so to speak. And on the way there, I would like to get rid of prior authorization, because I think that some dude behind a desk, or worse yet, like AI, shouldn't be able to determine whether or not you get the health care that your doctor prescribed. These are the things that people are asking for and demanding, and I think the will of the American people is on our side, and we just got to keep pushing.
Yeah, it's when you bring up the ER doctor, I find that so fascinating. I've got a family member who has to use like a special medical AI company that helps them formulate claims for the insurance in order to get things approved. So here he is, he's supposed to be helping patients, but he's really doing clerical work just to make sure that they're able to get the care approved that he's already determined they need. You see this play out, and everyone's got a story that either has happened to them or a close family member, where in this rich country we're supposed to live in, we're just left to like Google solutions on our own. Medical tourism. I'm thinking about going to Eastern Europe to get an MRI because, it's like, it's like, this is insane, right?
Totally. It's completely bananas. And I think, I talk to friends who are physicians who are like, imagine if I didn't have to spend all that time arguing with someone who doesn't have the same kind of relationship, knowledge, experience with this patient that I have. Someone told me, they're like, it probably takes up an entire day per week of arguing with insurance companies. And she was like, think about how many more people I could treat without wasting that time. So I think it's common sense. I think people get it. Certainly, the health insurance companies don't like it, but I'm not their candidate in this race, so that's fine with me.
How did this emerge for you? You've got Bernie, Elizabeth Warren. You've got these big endorsements from progressives that have run for president. Like where? How did you get to where you are now in this position?
Well, I'd say a couple things. I've known Elizabeth Warren for over a decade. We first met at an event in Washington, D.C. It was a gathering of progressive people of faith who are, kind of driven by their faith to do good work in the world. And we have just stay connected. So when I decided to run for the Senate, she got in. I'm the first person that she endorsed for this cycle. Bernie Sanders and I have built a relationship over time, and Senator Tina Smith, who currently holds the seat that I am running for, she's also endorsed us. And so we've got a lot of progressive folks who are supporting this campaign, these progressive voices in the U.S. Senate, but also have the majority of Democrats serving in the legislature here in Minnesota have also supported this campaign. And I think part of it is, we're building, I think, not just a campaign, but a movement for this moment. And what a lot of those elected officials understand is that you need strong teammates to get these things done. And so if we're able to come in and have a solid group of folks who are fighting for things like Medicare for all, getting big money and corporate money out of our politics, that also makes their work better, easier, and that's something that's really exciting to me.
Minnesota's kind of been put on the map for some culture war issues with Trump taking aim at them. In fact, I think, a terrorist attack he blamed on Tim Walz because, like he wants Nick Shirley's going there, knocking on doors, disrupting daycare centers and one thing after another. Like what's the solution to some of this cultural divide where we're made to hate each other based on which state who we voted for in the different states, blue versus red?
Well, I mean, I'd say a couple things. We've been through it here in Minnesota, also with Operation Metro Surge, and just real terror in our communities, the impact on the economy, our children. Two Minnesotans being killed. Like this is, I think, in many ways, the news cycle has moved on, but we're still here, right, grappling, with the fallout of that. But if Donald Trump was really serious about fraud and corruption, he would have sent 3,000 forensic accountants to Minnesota instead of these ICE agents. But I think the thing that Minnesotans have demonstrated to folks is that we really care about our neighbors. And in fact, like we talk, now, oh,
I'm
hello.
so sorry. My
No,
son is
don't be
just crashing.
sorry.
My wife is running into talking to future President Flanagan over here. He was so excited to see. Sorry
I
about
love
that.
it.
I'll leave it
I'm a
in.
mom,
We'll go
so
viral there.
I get it. It's my favorite. It's so great. And I would just say this that in Minnesota we've talked a lot about neighboring, and that I think is at the foundation and of the core of how we can start to bridge some of these divides. Um, Minnesotans care tremendously about fairness and looking out for each other. And we know that with what we experienced here, that there are folks who, maybe don't share the same uh, political backgrounds or party affiliation, but we're like, I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm going to deliver meals to someone. I'm going to stand outside of a church, in a bright vest with a whistle, so that people, can worship without being afraid that they'll be taken or harassed. And so that to me is, I think, an opportunity to find that common ground. Because I think what you'll hear from folks, regardless if they're Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green, or just like I don't have an affiliation with any political party. People just want to be able to afford the lives they want to live and want to be able to take care of themselves and the people that they love. That feels like a really good place to start, and I think that is why we've seen Republicans come to our events. And I remember this one guy was like, I don't agree with you on a lot of stuff, Flanagan, but at least you're here. I'll take it, right? Like that's a place to start, to just start listening to people. And we are more divided than we've ever been before. But also somebody benefits from it being that way. And right now, I think it's Donald Trump, right? When you can, find these places to divide us, it means that we're not paying attention to the fact that he said he'd solve this economy on day one. TikTok, like we're all waiting on making sure that people can do better. This war in Iran, just the reflecting pool, the ballroom, the making over $1 billion in cryptocurrency from the Oval Office. All of these things, right, are the things that he doesn't want us to talk about and would rather have us be sniping at each other than fighting back for the things, frankly, that we all would benefit from.
Yeah, I watched the South Carolina Republican debate last night against my best wishes, and every answer everyone gave had to first bend the knee to Trump, agree with him. And it seems as though the Republican Party, they're damned if they do, damned if they can't distance themselves from him. And because they're completely fractured over the sort of the cult that sees no wrong with what he's done. Assuming the Democrats sort of take the Senate and the House, which would be, it's a tall task, but assuming that happens, I think the America is really going to want to see a fighter, kind of like how Zoran hit the ground running. Like progressivism in social democracy really depended on Zoran to do something in New York. So like what can be done, assuming all of the green lights are there as far as resistance to Trump in the 2 years before he's replaced?
Well, I think that, one, Democrats have to be like very clear about what it is that we're fighting for. As you mentioned, that Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren have weighed in this race. There's also a group of senators calling themselves a Fight Club. And the number one rule of Fight Club, right? You don't talk about it, but we're going to talk about it just a little bit here, which is it's Murphy, Merkley, Van Hollen, Heinrich, Warren, Sanders, and Markey. And so this is a group of senators who've endorsed me in this race, but also means that like there is a crew that is ready to go. And I think the opportunity for us is to say, okay, who is taking the lead on Medicare for all? Who is taking the lead on banning prior authorization? Who is taking the lead on, raising the minimum wage? All of those things I think need to be things that we are pushing for, we are communicating about, we are demonstrating to people like we are fighting for these things. And we also have to hold the Trump administration accountable for what they have done, for I'd say the terror and destruction that they brought to Minnesota, but also to folks all across this country. I think we can do two things at once. I think there's some folks who are like, oh, we just got to look forward to the future. Yes, we can do that. And, I want Kristi Noem to be held accountable for what happened here in the streets of Minnesota. I think you shouldn't be able to enrich yourself directly from the White House, and that we should be doing everything we can to, end Citizens United. That means Supreme Court reform. Sometimes people get squidgy about talking about it, but like, I think people understand the stakes. We either have to go, run as hard and as fast as we can right now, or we are just going to end up in the same place where we are currently. So I think fighting looks like working hard, getting organized, communicating to people what you're doing, and then holding these folks accountable for the absolute just like mess and destruction and chaos that they've caused so far in this country.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That idea of sort of trying to move along for the sake of the country, I don't think that can happen. I think we need examples set, and and people need to trust that politicians will fight for them, not for corporations. Well,
That's right.
thank you so much for joining me today. I want to respect your time here. I know you've got a busy week ahead, but good luck on the August 11th primary for Minnesota, and maybe we can grab you after that before the general election.
I would absolutely love that. And Dave, I just have to say thank you so much for this opportunity. This is, our campaign is, I think, again, like the many versus the money. It is like we are not taking corporate PAC money, not taking APAC money. I am beholden only to Minnesotans and our grassroots supporters. And that means that we get to run this campaign the right way and to talk to folks all across the country about what it is that we're building here. So I just really appreciate the opportunity to be with you, and more than anything, appreciate the cameo of your cutie cute
right?
in the video. So thank you. It's been a while since that's happened. I have a 13-year-old, but it's
well, I used to put the locks on it, but then he just rattles the door, so I had to kind of leave it unlocked and let him roam.
That's right.
But yeah, anyway, thanks again, and good luck this week.
Thanks so much, Dave. Take care.
Take care.